All right, let's dive in. Today, we are going to try and solve one of the biggest mysteries out there for anyone with a website. What are your users actually doing? And maybe even more important, why are they doing it? We're going to break down two really powerful tools that can give you the answers.
I mean, really think about that for a second. You've poured your heart and soul into building this amazing website, but your sales are flat, or people just keep leaving without signing up. You know something's wrong, but you just can't quite put your finger on it. It's like trying to find your way through a new city with no map at all. So what if you could see exactly where people are getting stuck or frustrated or totally lost?
So we've got this mystery on our hands, right? And to solve it, we need the right detective tools. Let's think of it this way. A heat map, that's like your satellite map. It shows you the big picture, the traffic jams, the popular routes, where all the crowds are going across the entire city. A session replay, though, that's like your in-car GPS. It's the turn-by-turn journey of one single driver. Both are incredibly useful for sure, but they tell you completely different things.
Okay, let's open up our detective kit. We're going to start with that high-level satellite view to really get a handle on what these tools are. First up, the heat map.
A heat map gives you that 10,000-foot view we were talking about. It basically takes all the interactions from all your users, every click, every scroll, every mouse movement, and it turns them into this easy-to-read, color-coded map. You know, the hotspots, usually bright red or yellow, they show you exactly where all the action is. And the cooler spots, the blues and greens, they show you where you're being totally ignored. It's such a quick visual way to see what the crowd is up to.
And you can break them down even more. You've got click heat maps that show you precisely what people are tapping on. And here's a fun one. Sometimes it's things that aren't even links. Then there are scroll maps, which are awesome for seeing how far down the page you can actually hold someone's attention. And hover maps can give you clues about what's catching their eye, even if they don't actually click. Each one tells you a little piece of the big story.
Okay, so now let's zoom in, like way in. We're going from the crowd to a single individual. If heat maps are that satellite view, session replays are our in-car GPS. This is a literal recording of one person's visit to your site. You see every single mouse movement, every bit of frantic scrolling, every single click they make on their journey.
And this is where the real power of replays comes in. You can watch the session just like it happened, in real time. You can often connect it to a specific type of user, and you can even filter your recordings to see, say, how mobile users from Germany are behaving versus desktop users from Canada. It's an incredibly detailed look into one person's actual experience.
All right, so we've got our two tools. One gives us the big picture, the other gives us the super close-up. But which one's better? Well, it's not really that simple. Let's weigh the pros and cons of each.
The absolute beauty of a heat map is its simplicity. It's visual, it's fast, and it instantly shows you where user interest is highest. But that's also its biggest weakness. It gives you surface-level insights. You can see that everyone is clicking a button, but you have no earthly idea why. A giant red hotspot on a broken link could look like high interest, when really, it's just a whole lot of user frustration. Now on the flip side, you've got session replays. Their biggest pro is context. Hands down. You actually get to see the why behind what a user is doing. You can uncover those super specific pain points. The downside? Man, it can be a mountain of data to get through. Plus, you have to be mindful of privacy. You get the whole story, for sure, but you've got to put in the time to watch and figure out what it all means.
Okay, theory is great and all, but let's see how these tools actually solve real-world problems. We're going to look at two quick case studies to see how our detective tools crack the case when it really matters. First up, a classic. An online store has a big problem. Sales are down. People are coming to the site, they're looking around, but they just aren't buying. The team has a hunch that something on the homepage is distracting them. But what is it? So, they pull up a click heat map, and boom, the answer is as clear as day. There's this massive red hotspot right on top of a flashy promotional banner. Everybody thought it was a link to a sale, but nope, it was just a static image. The heat map instantly showed them exactly where user attention was going off the rails.
So the fix was incredibly simple. They just made the banner a clickable link that went straight to the right products. And almost overnight, conversions from that banner started to climb. Problem spotted, problem solved. Easy.
All right, scenario number 2. A software company is getting tons of people interested in their free trial, but an alarming number of them start the sign-up process and then just vanish. They get halfway through the form and just leave. Why?
This time, they turn to session replays, and after watching just a handful of recordings, a pattern emerges. Users would get to one specific field on the form, they'd pause, their mouse would start moving around erratically, and then they'd just give up and leave the page. The language in that one field was just full of jargon and was super confusing. They were literally watching user frustration happen in real time.
And again, a really simple fix with a huge impact. They just rewrote the text in that box to be crystal clear. And what happened? The drop-off rate just plummeted. More happy customers were starting their free trials. The session replay gave them that very specific why they needed to fix the problem.
So after seeing those examples, you might be thinking, okay, one of these tools is definitely better than the other, but the single most important thing to take away from all this is that they are not competitors. They are partners in crime, working together to solve the user behavior mystery.
Think of it like this. Your heat map, that's your scout. It scans the whole landscape of your website and comes back and says, hey, there's something weird happening right here on this page. It identifies the problem area, the what and the where. It tells you exactly where you need to investigate further.
And this is where session replays come in. Once your heat map has pointed you to the crime scene, you send in the investigators. The session replays show you those individual stories, all that rich context, that finally reveals the crucial why behind the problem. Okay, so you're fired up, you're ready to become a user behavior detective. But how do you actually get started and, make sure you're doing it right? Here's a super practical action plan to get you going. First off, pick a tool that actually fits your needs. But before you do anything, and I mean anything, define what you're trying to figure out. Are you trying to boost signups, lower cart abandonment? Set a clear goal. Then you can get your tracking set up, look at the data you collect, and, this part is absolutely key, always test the changes you make. Don't just assume your fix actually worked. And please, try to avoid these common traps. Making some huge design change based on watching 5 user sessions, that's a recipe for disaster. So is just looking at a hotspot on a heat map and not digging for the context. Remember our detective analogy? You have to gather enough evidence and understand the motive before you make your move. At the end of the day, every click, every scroll, every abandoned shopping cart is a user trying to tell you something. Your website is constantly telling you a story about what's working and what isn't. With the right tools in your hands, you can finally start to listen. So the only question left is, are you ready?